What's going on, guys? Cole Simonson here, and we are talking about part 2 of our preparation, which is our gear. So if you guys had any questions about gear or wanted to know anything about gear, this is your video. I pretty much just cover the basics of what I use on single day hunts and multi-day hunts. Further along when we're getting prepped for the season, actually, within a couple weeks of the season, I'll go into extreme detail on how I pack these. But for now, we're just going to keep it basic so you can get your gear list down and start preparing to buy these essentials and start getting them organized for your upcoming hunts this year. First things first, don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps me out, it helps you out. I mean, who doesn't like information videos like these? And also, don't forget to comment below if I missed anything or if you want any extra information on any of this gear. So let's get right into it. First things first, the most important item other than your actual rifle or bow, in my opinion, is your backpack. These are lifesavers, especially if you walk a ton. This is my personal pack. It's the XO 5500. This has been a stellar pack. I've done multi-day hunts with it, single-day hunts with it, packed out multiple deer and antelope and elk with this thing. So far, it's been a great pack. It's just heavy duty, very, very weather resistant. And I mean, look at this thing. It just extends and keeps extending and extending. I mean, I've done a multi-day mule deer hunt with this and had extra room for the deer if we got one, and for a lot of extra gear. So this bag has a lot of room. Very durable. It is a little bit heavier than their new model, but it still has the same purpose and works great. Now, saying things about bags here is you want to choose a bag that can be a multi-day bag and a single-day bag. But remember, single-day bags aren't multi-day bags. You'll only be able to go a couple days with XO 2000 or 1500, whatever they go, their lowest one. You might even only be able to go 1 or 2 days, and then you're struggling with your space. But these 5500s can go 5 to 7 days, and you can also use them on single days. So you got to remember that when you're purchasing a bag. Pretty much the more room, the better. And you can also use it as a day pack. Just real quick, I actually have this set up right now for being a day pack. So I'll go through what I kind of keep in it. And we have all our game bags, which is a ton of game bags, and our med kit. And really, that's all I throw in this pocket. I usually have some wet wipes or toilet paper, and my water bladder, and then the rest I pretty much carry everything else in this little flap here, and it's usually just a knife, a couple extra blades if I'm using a replacement blade one. Other than that, I just carry a fixed blade and a headlamp. That is pretty much my single day pack right there. Next, we have our walking sticks. These are one of the very overlooked items, but extremely, extremely useful items. I take these on day hunts and on backcountry hunts, just because it's like an extra pair of legs. You have a little bit more leverage going up hills. You have more balance. You can push left or right if you're on a side hill, extend them out a little bit farther so you can have more support downhill, and a little bit shorter so you can lean on it uphill. They're just very, very universal tools. This is actual Mountainsmith. They're made out of aluminum. Anyways, that is your walking sticks. They're very useful, very overlooked, but once you start using them, you're going to want to use them on every hunt. Next, we have our tents. Now, this is one of those things where you have to decide, are you doing a base camp hunt or a high country pack-in hunt? Usually you know that quite a few months before. So pretty much for a base camp hunt, I love wall tents. They offer so much room. Very, very good when it comes to keeping out the weather. You can have stoves in there. The wall tents are just very, very universal for base camps. It's pretty much a little home away from home. Now we got to talk about our backpacking tents. And this is, one of those subjects. It's a brand loyalty subject. But you also have to decide what the weather is going to be like and if you want a stove or not. So what I usually tend to do is September to October hunts are 3-season tents, and October to the end of season are 4-season tents. If you don't have the money to buy 2 different sets of tents that are really good, I would definitely lean towards purchasing a good 4-season tent and a decent 3-season tent. I personally run the Seek Outside teepee tents, so I can have a stove in there if I'm doing a high country October hunt or just a November hunt in general. I can have a stove in there, and that stove, it is used to dry out clothes, even heat up food sometimes, and just in general keep us warm. What you'll have to remember about the 4-season tents is the condensation. So usually if you don't have that stove going, you do get a lot of condensation. Same thing with just any 4-season tent in general. They have so many layers to them pretty much that they really trap in that moisture, and you will get condensation if it's too warm out. So that's one of those things to keep in the back of your mind, especially if you're doing a September, October hunt. I would just go with a lightweight 3-season tent. Make sure you have the rain guard, but that should get you through your backpacking hunt. I know there's a ton of companies out there. You get what you pay for. Especially on your backpack hunts, you want to keep it lightweight and compact. So just remember that when you're buying a tent, and you will do just fine. While we're on the subject of tents, let's go into sleeping bags. Usually I try to stick with the 20-degree bags. It's a really good middleman. If you put on some layers of clothes, sleep in all your layers of clothes, you can actually go down to very, very cold nights. I've done it before. We've hit 0 some nights in a 20-degree bag, and I've had clothes on, and it's done just fine. Also, the 20-degree bags are pretty lightweight, especially if you invest in a very good bag. Stone Glacier makes an absolute fantastic 20-degree bag from what I've been reading. And it's super lightweight. So just remember that when you're buying these bags too, is you don't want a large bag. You got to remember how much space you have in the backpack and the actual weight of it, especially on your high country hunts. You want to keep that weight down. Now, if you're at a base camp, bring whatever bag you love. I mean, I have some canvas bags that we use that are absolutely fantastic, and I mean, they'll sweat you out of there even on a cold night. So that's pretty much, sleeping bags are sleeping bags. You just try to stick lightweight and in the 20-degree range. I mean, if you're hunting in an area that doesn't dip below 30 or 40 degrees at night, you can go with a lighter bag. Also, they do have sleeping bag liners, which will add about 10 degrees to your bag. So a 20-degree bag will be a 10-degree bag, and so on and so forth. I have those. They aren't bad. They do get wadded up sometimes, but it's kind of nice to just have them as a spare, and they don't add much weight to it. Then we got our sleeping pillows. I have used everything from my actual backpack to a rolled up jacket to actual inflatable pillows. If you don't want to add the extra weight or go even buy one, I feel comfortable sleeping on my backpack. If you have that stuff full, it works pretty well. I mean, it's not the most comfortable thing in the world, but it works. Same thing with wrapping up your jackets. They'll be a pillow themselves. So pillows aren't mandatory, really, but they are nice to have. And if you're at a base camp, just bring your pillow from home. All right, now we are going to go into probably one of the most biased and fought over topics in the gear industry for hunting, and that is clothing. This is one of those things where you'll have some people say, wear your jeans and a, Carhartt and you're good to go. Others will say you need to go drop $2,000 on a specific company to be comfortable. And in all reality, my strict opinion is it all revolves around the type of hunting you're doing. I have killed multiple elk in a Carhartt and jeans, but I was staying in a cabin and could dry out my clothing and go to my bag and swap clothes every single day I came in. I've also been on multi-day hunts with the camo that I wear and have had great comfortability and success in it with no chafing, no wear, and the clothes have handled everything I threw at them. So if you're running in a base camp, you don't need much more than your basic gear: long johns, pants, jacket, shirt, the basics of actual hunting. You don't need to go spending $1,000 if you're hunting single days or if you're just hunting out of a base camp. That good gear really does help because it keeps your weight down, and the layer systems are awesome. But in my opinion, you don't need them unless you're actually going into the backcountry where you need to have clothes for every type of weather. So a lot of the companies have layer systems. I wear screed gear, which is my personal preference, mainly because they're kind of I wouldn't say they're the best of quality, but they're good quality for a great price. They have layering systems that I love. Their merino wool's great. I've been running in their hard scrabble pants for 4 years now, and I still cannot destroy them. Their down jackets are fantastic, and everything they have comes in little bundles like this. Their rain gear, their down jacket, and it's only about that big, so it does not take up much room in your pack. And in all reality, with that gear, you don't need to go spending an arm and a leg. Kuiu will get you about the same place. They're very good, tough gear. Same with Sitka. It all kind of just depends on the style of hunt you're doing and what kind of gear you want. Biggest advantage to these high quality brands is their water repellency and their ability to dry out fast. And that's why I really, really like them, is because there's just no way of predicting if you're going to get rained on or snowed on up in the high country. So you can pack your layers, keep it lightweight, and have every single article of clothing that you actually need, no matter what, if it's September or if it's December. And it should make you at least comfortable and keep you warm. So next here, we're going to talk about how to actually heat up your food and boil water. I personally use these MSR wind burners. It's a little bit heavier, but it has done me really good. Jetboil is also another fantastic one. You can get lighter than that. You can get really pretty much just fold in your pocket ones with a gas can and light it up. These things are well worth their money. They provide you with very nice food, or they provide you with the ability to heat up food, and that's just a morale boost in general. I use this thing from everything from making ramen noodles and my MREs to making coffee in the morning. So these things are absolutely fantastic to have. All right, next we are going to talk about our rifle setups for everything from our day trips to our multi-day trips here. Once again, always think about your weight, because that will come into a severe factor for you, especially on your multi-day trips. This gun right here, I would personally not take on a high country hunt, mainly because of the weight right now. The gun itself is not terribly heavy. You know, it is definitely a tank of a gun. I absolutely love it. It's one of my best shooting guns, and it was cheap as dirt pretty much. It's chambered in 7 meg, which is everything I need to kill any animal in Wyoming with, pretty much. I've taken multiple antelope, deer, and elk with this gun. So I love the 7 meg caliber. It's fantastic. The only thing on this gun I would change to actually make it a backcountry gun is this scope. The scope is a little bit too heavy for backcountry, in my opinion. I'd change this out with probably just a 4.5 by 12 Leopold or something like that. Really nice, easy, lightweight scope. But for day hunts, it's fantastic. I don't worry about much for weight on these day hunts. So this rifle does fantastic. If you are going in the backcountry, I do recommend really spending a good chunk of change, or at least time, making your rifle as light as you can. There are so many rifle brands out there now that are actually made for lightweight hunters. Weatherby makes an extremely lightweight rifle. So does Christensen Arms. I mean, there's multiple companies right now that are running these lightweight rifles, but you get what you pay for, and you are going to pay an arm and a leg for a lightweight gun. Now we will speak a little bit about our optics. I personally live by a theory where I almost take what I paid for the gun and double it for the optic. You cannot be a good scope on top of your rifle. Your rifle's only as good as what you can see through your scope, if that makes sense. You know, if you can't just see, or if your scope is easily damaged, you can't accurately shoot your rifle. Your rifle might shoot a 1/2 inch group at 100 yards all day long, but if you have a crappy scope on it that gets knocked around a little bit and goes off zero, you aren't going to hit a 1/2 inch group at 100 yards all day long. So always spend money on your optics. They are your friends, not your enemies. That's pretty much that on my opinions on rifles for base camp hunts and multi-day hunts. Try to keep them light, but also keep them accurate with your scope and the rifle quality, and you won't have any problems taking an animal, whether it be right out of your camp or 10 miles back in the high country. Next, we're going to talk about our bows. Another topic that is fought over, I guess. Once again, I try to keep my bows as light as possible. I run a Prime Rival right now. The bow is a little bit heavier, but it does its job. I don't have a huge stabilizer on it to keep down weight. I don't have a huge sight on it, so I can keep down weight. And I have a lightweight quiver that is tight against there, so I have maneuverability and to keep it light. So, like I said, you can change things on bows, but your main weight on the bow is actually going to come from the body itself. So when you're looking for a bow, do look at that aspect of it. Make sure that it's light enough to where you don't mind packing it for several days, but it's also reliable and of high quality. When you go to choose a bow, also don't choose a low quality brand. There's not many out there, but there are a few. Like I said, you get what you pay for. In all reality, with the 2020 bows coming out, I would highly recommend the new Matthews Hoyts. I heard great things about PSE this year. So you get what you pay for. I'm not going to go too in depth on the bow and how to cut weight and everything like that, because there's not really much you can do. But that's that on bows. Just remember, the main weight comes from the body of the bow, so look for how heavy they are, compare them, and go shoot them. You can go down to your local range and shoot them. Make sure you're comfortable with your bows, and trust me, it will make your hunt just that much better. And the final chunk of gear I want to talk about is our optics. I said a little bit about them on scopes, but when it comes down to it, I would rather have $1,500 or $2,000 worth of spotting scopes and binoculars than of $2,000 worth of guns and bows. The reason behind that is I'm going to be spending a lot more time behind this spotting scope and my binoculars than I will be behind my rifle scope or my bow in the field. So that is extremely important. I use this little compact razor, and it has done fantastic. Spotted so many elk and deer, and I absolutely love it. Just, it doesn't hurt my eyes. I can sit behind it for a long time before I start getting fatigued. So, and that's very important, is if your eyes are tired, then you're going to be tired and you can't sit around and spot for very long. So make sure you invest in good optics. They pay for themselves. Without good optics, it'd be a long and quite miserable hunt. Make sure you have a reliable set of binoculars too that you can glass with all day long, and a reliable rangefinder. I would show you a rangefinder, but mine's laying in the snow somewhere in the middle of nowhere. Which is kind of a blessing in disguise, because it wasn't that reliable of a rangefinder. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I know I rambled a lot. I know I went through a lot of things, but that is pretty much your basic gear list you're going to need to get started in your out-of-state hunt. And you can always go through and tweak it a little bit, add stuff, take stuff away. Eventually you'll find something, a balance that you'll really like, that'll keep the weight down and will be super reliable. So if you guys haven't already, don't forget to hit the like button, comment below, and subscribe. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. You have a great day and good luck this season.